Walk us through which sectors that China targeted.
Yeah, Rami, I mean, China were very clear in saying that they're going to hit back, and they hit back, as you said, very quickly indeed. And they are targeting in this first round of tariffs, which will be initiated on July the 6th, if they don't come to some agreement before that, which is looking very unlikely, $34 billion worth of imports from the US, including, as you've said, things like soybeans, corn, wheat, so those agricultural products, but also automobiles as well, which is interesting because China has recently made steps and taken steps to open up the auto market here. So reversing those steps, at least for the US automakers. Then after July the 6th, they are, of course, weighing up this additional $16 billion worth of tariffs on a range of goods from coal to oil to those medical equipment devices as well that you mentioned. So targeting those Midwestern states, those commodity-producing states. Obviously, the game plan from China is hoping to cause pain in areas that voted for Trump and seeing if that will lead to any change in policy from the Trump administration. It was about 540 different categories of products versus about 1,100 from the US side. And the other big difference that's come out as a result of this is that China has then nulled all of those agreements it came to with the US side over 3 rounds of talks led by Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, but also Commerce Secretary Ross here in Beijing and in Washington. All those agreements around increasing imports of things like agricultural products and commodities, oil and gas, for example, all of those have now been put on ice or nixed completely. So that is where we stand. Now we're looking, of course, to what the US reaction is going to be from this counterpunch from China.
Yeah, Tom, what's our best guess at how this is likely to play out from here?
Well, it's not looking pretty, is it? I mean, Trump has already said that he's drawn up a list of $100 billion in additional tariffs if China retaliates. China has retaliated, so now we're waiting to see what happens there. Now, it's very difficult for China to match that $100 billion because it only imports about $130 billion worth of goods from the US. So what we're more likely to get then in China's response to that, if it unfolds that way, they'll start to put some pressure on some of the US corporates operating here. There's about $200 billion worth of US investment in China. This is a game plan that they've drawn out and put to use already with countries like South Korea. So unofficial measures, holding goods up at port, licensing, doing health inspections or quality inspections that delay and make the jobs of those corporates very, very difficult. So that is likely to be the response from China should Trump go ahead with an additional $100 billion worth of tariffs.